How's everybody doing?
Right.
Is that it?
Right.
I know you're doing better than that because I walked in and felt the energy. Let's try one more time. How is everybody doing? Yeah! I love that. And that's what it's all about, right? You know, I wasn't able to be here a little bit earlier this morning because I was actually filming a session for a training session that revolves around network marketing with a couple guys. You guys got a great media center not too far from here. And so I was doing some filming on some training sessions. And it was making me think as I was doing that about what we're going to talk about today. And last night there was a gentleman that was at Stephen and Corey's, a guy by the name of Michael, and he couldn't be here today because he works in car sales. And when you work in car sales, you usually live at the dealership, right? He's also studying to be a minister as well. So, you know, he's working on becoming a preacher. And literally, this is a guy that doesn't have much time. And he's pretty new. He's just about a month into the business. I think you all sponsored him about a month ago, didn't you? Yeah, it's Michael, right? Okay, great guy. I mean, you could feel his spirit, feel his heart. And as I was walking, I said, you know, I'm really sorry I can't be there tomorrow. He said, I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I said, well, do you have a couple of minutes? He said, yeah. He said, for you, I do. I said, well, it's not for me, it's for you. And he said, well, yeah, for me, I do that. And I said, okay. I said, let's sit down. And Stephen got me a piece of paper. And I kind of drew out some things that I want to share with you all right here. And how many people here have ever been in a multi-level marketing company, direct sales company, before SendOutCards by a show of hands? Okay, let's ask it another way. Who has never been in a company before SendOutCards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 or 10 people. So about 80% of the room have been involved before. Who's been in, I think I know who's going to win this, but I got to check it out anyways. Who's been in, I'll tell you what, put your hands up if you've been in multi-level marketing. And as I say a number of companies, once that's higher than the number you've been in, drop your hand. So obviously everybody's in SendOutCards, so every hand's up right now, unless you're a guest. So, okay, who has been in, if you've only been in one company, everybody's hands up. If you've been in 2 companies, keep your hand up. 3 companies. Now look around real quick. Okay, 4 companies. 5 companies. Uh-oh, now here, look at this, we're down to 4 people. 6 companies. 7 companies. There's only one person, everybody, lucky 7 was pretty good. There's been one that's been in 8 or more. So Shannon, you know, every time we're in the same room, you're winning this thing, it seems like. How many have you been in? 11. Wow. 11. You know what a lot of people say? Oh man, he just keeps getting in companies. You know what I see? I see a person who refuses to quit until he finds something that's going to work for him for life.
That's right.
You know, it's amazing how you can look at something, isn't it? You can look at somebody who keeps growing. And I've forgotten to know Shannon. I heard his name many years ago. We never met, even though we lived just a few hours apart. But I'd heard his name. And you know, when I first got in this industry, I wanted to find an Amway, an Herbalife, a New Skin, a Mary Kay. Wouldn't you think that's what you would want to find as well if you could be one of the first? Sure. In essence, what I hope you're looking for, and you can look for anything you want, is something you can build, one, to get paid for life, right? I can tell you, I know Shannon did not want to be in 11 different companies. I've been in numerous companies, and I didn't want to be in them all. I wanted my first company to be the right company. But how many people ever dated somebody before their husband or wife? How many people had a husband or wife that wasn't the right one, and maybe there's another one? I'm just saying, sometimes the first thing you do is not the right thing for you, right? At the right time. So the reason I kind of open up with that is because sometimes we have this different thinking because it's multi-level marketing. This is a business. And it's a business you're trying to build for your family. But just because you see a company doesn't mean it's going to be the right company at the right time in that company's growth cycle or the right time for you. So there's some dynamics that are involved. No different than if you've ever owned another business before. Maybe you owned a business before. You don't own it today. Why? Numerous reasons, right? That's called life. So I know when you look at this industry, there's kind of 2 sides. One is the emotional, feel-good, touchy side. The other side is the pure business side, the economics of business. And you've got to have both sides. The cool thing about SendOutCards is probably the best at the emotional connection feeling side, right? Wouldn't you agree? With cards and gifts and touching people's lives and reaching out in kindness. You do something that you just really don't do in most companies. Now, I know people that have skin cream, when they're talking to other people, they really want them to have a product that's a good product, or makeup, or cosmetics. If you have water filters and air filters, you know, you really want people to be able to have better health. Nutritional companies, Herbalife. I mean, lose weight now, ask me how, right? That was how they built the foundation of their company. They really wanted to help people have a better and a more healthy life. So 99% of the people that get in network marketing and have products or services really want to help people. But you guys right here with SendOutCards, what exists in this room is definitely at the highest level of the feel-good side. And you already know that part. But the other side is what makes so much of a difference. And would anybody in the room agree with me that history is a great predictor of the future? You know, that's how they establish economic models. They study the past and they forecast the future based on the past. So the interesting thing is, when we look at this industry, can you guys hear me okay in the back without the microphone? Yeah. Because it's easier to write, okay. Our industry has a tremendous amount of history. And when you study the history of our industry, it gives you ability to kind of see the vision for the future of where it's going to go. And when you have that vision for the future, you can look at where you are, what your current company is, and what that potential for the future is for you within that company. So the interesting thing is there's some really unique things that are happening. And has anybody ever heard the phrase, timing is everything? It's kind of like in real estate. What's the most important thing in real estate? Everybody knows it, right? Even if you're not in real estate, you know it. Well, in business, timing is everything. Real quick example. You've got your life savings right now, and you could go invest it in Microsoft today. Probably a good long-term investment, but if you could go back 30 years and invest it with Bill Gates and Paul Allen when they started, which one of the two would you prefer? Easy answer, right? Why? Timing. It's the only difference. Great investments, but if you did it 30 years ago, you probably wouldn't be in this room today. Although you might, but you would be doing it for a different reason. So, timing is everything. When you look at our industry, this is the normal situation that exists. And I'm going to suggest to you that you got something different in SendOutCards that's never happened in the history of network marketing. Number one, all companies start in the lower left-hand corner of the graph. And when a company first starts, the marketability of that opportunity is 100%. Now, what do I mean by marketability? Well, if you start brand new, every single person you call, they've never used the product or service, never heard of the company, you're the first person to call them. An example, if a new network marketing company started today and we're in the boardroom putting it together, we're going to be the first distributors. When we go start calling people to approach them about evaluating what we have, we know that they've never seen it, right? But if we all came together today and said, let's start an Amway business, guess what? When we start calling people, how many people have heard of Amway out of 100?
100.
80, 90? You know, if you're depending on the age group, if you're calling 18, 19-year-olds, you got a lot that never have. But if you're calling more people in the business community, you probably have 80 or 90% that have heard about it. So your marketability factor, as the company continues to grow, becomes less. Interesting thing is your risk, the risk of the company actually staying in business, starts right here. There's a 100% chance of failure when the company's first starting. It may not even get off the ground. But as the company becomes bigger and lasts long term, the risk factor lowers as well. So here's the rub with that. Everybody says, I want to be first. Man, if I could just be first. If I could have been first in Amway, if I could have been first in Herbalife, if I could be first in SendOutCards, man, then I could be one of the big income earners, right? There is some truth to that. But with being first, there's also more risk. So you have to know where you fit. Are you a high risk taker? Like Shannon and myself. You know, I know Shannon and myself are probably very similar where we do want to be first. We want to help create the foundation. We don't want to be one of the people that gets in long term at the end. And here's why. If you look at the great companies in our industry, and you all know them, you talk about that hockey stick, you've got 4 phases of growth: formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability. So formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability. Interesting thing is, do you know the number, Shannon? Somebody told me over 60,000 direct sales and multi-level marketing companies have been started in like the last 60 years. I know it's tens of thousands, but somebody told me it's over 60,000. I don't know who accumulates this information, but I heard it somewhere. Interesting thing is, when you look at this, 95% of all companies fail before they hit momentum, where that hockey stick goes. That means they never hit that growth, never get there. Why do they fail? Same reasons as all of the traditional businesses. Management doesn't manage properly. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but bringing new teams together doesn't guarantee that they're going to win a championship, right? Even if they're all individually great. Many times they don't have enough money. They think they do, but when you start a new business, you never can anticipate everything that's going to happen, so something happens unanticipated, you don't have enough money to make it through. An attorney general,
all of a sudden comes in and has an inquiry, and they do a cease and desist in your state. Do you know what happens to your sales when that happens? Wow. And if your model is based on using part of the sales to fund the growth, you're dead in the water. Great people, great intentions. A distributor in a room who you have no control over stands up in front of a room. Attorney General has a spotter in the room, and that person's so excited, they're new, they've never been in multi-level marketing. They say, yeah, I'm making $8,000 a month, man. This is amazing. You can make all this money. And they're truly excited, and they're really making $8,000 a month. But that's a no-no if you get caught. It happens every day, all the time. And the person looking there may not be the Attorney General spotter that think that's a problem that day because he really feels that person. You never know. There's so many intangibles. But let's say he or she says, hey, they shouldn't say that. They report it. Company gets a cease and desist. And all of a sudden you can start doing business right there. Sales plummet. Great management, enough money, but they can't get past the regulatory agency. And they go away. Happens all the time. So see, there's a lot of intangibles that you have to overcome. That's why so many of them fail. Or wrong product at the wrong time. Wrong pricing scheme. Come out with a product that you're the first on, all of a sudden somebody else offers it, boom, at a very lower price. An example, a company called Eagle Shield started by Sam Castor many years ago. Went from $0 to $200 million in less than 3 years. All of a sudden you started seeing it at all the hardware stores for about 1/5 the cost. Boom, within 1 year the company was gone. Gone. What if you were one of the first that started it? It looked great. It was this stuff called radiant barrier. It was great for insulation. It was amazing. And all of a sudden you're building, you think you've got the panacea, man. Every home in America, every office in America, we're going to be billionaires. That's what you're thinking because you see it explode. And then all of a sudden, boom, it comes offered in the stores at 1/5 the price. Your business is gone, just like that, overnight. So when you look at this, who are the companies that have made it up here? Who are the stable companies? You've got Amway, you've got Herbalife. Anybody know Art Williams? Mm-hmm. Mary Kay, New Skin. Those are the main ones that people think of. There's a company by the name of Excel, telecommunications. Anybody ever hear of Excel? Long distance in the 90s? Okay, Excel. You can also put Tupperware in here. You can put Avon in here. That's most of the United States-based multi-level marketing companies. You can even throw OmniLife in there. OmniLife was started out of Mexico by one of the wealthiest people in Mexico. And it's a big $1 billion plus company. Interesting thing, when you look at the graph here, if you join any one of these companies, your risk factor, see up here where these companies are all up here, or even some of them way up here, your risk of those companies going out of business is basically zero, right? If we started Amway today, do you think you're going to get paid 10 years from now on what you do today? Of course. They've been doing it for 52 years. They've got billions of dollars in cash. They're a rich company. They're going nowhere. But the rub is, you got no risk. You can sleep great, but you got to call 100 people to find 5 that'll sit down and talk to you. So to sit down with 50, you got to call 1,000. How many people know 1,000 people personally? That's what's so hard about it. Now, where's Amway great? Pick their newest country that they're just opening or they've opened in the last 5 years and go to that country. And then even though the company's way up here, in that country, it's way down here as far as marketability. So you got stability of the company, but you got marketability in your country. How many people speak half the languages other than English around the world? Not many of us, certainly not me. So we've got to build where we live, right? So you look at these companies, safety, security, but very low marketability factor. That's what's going on. Here's the interesting thing that's happening. Right now, in this last year, there has been more positive press for multi-level marketing than in the entire history of our industry. Did anybody see the Wall Street Journal article? There was an insert in the Wall Street Journal, 40 or 42 pages, all about direct selling. This is the Wall Street Journal, one of the most prestigious publications in the world. And they had a full section dedicated to direct selling, multi-level marketing. You talk about a proof source when you sit down with people. What about network marketing? Multi-level marketing? Sure, yeah, look what the Wall Street Journal says about it. About a month and a half ago, the USA Today, the biggest newspaper in the world, I believe, certainly in the United States, had an insert that was all about multi-level marketing and direct sales, talking about how so many people are starting home-based businesses. See, this is positive press. What that means is when mainstream media grabs a hold of something, that means the old paradigms are starting to shift. So from a timing standpoint, what we're seeing is we're starting to see an acceptance level of multi-level marketing that's never existed before. Some of it's driven by economics, but other part of it is just driven by the fact that the industry is now starting to explode. The industry is maturing to a point globally where there's enough people from different walks of life that have proven this business works that it can't be denied anymore. And now instead of it being an underground cottage industry, it's becoming a mainstream industry. That's why Warren Buffett bought Pampered Chef. You think he knows anything about money? Would he buy it if he thought the company was just stable or going to die? No way. He knows they're going to grow, and he knows they're going to grow big, and that's why he buys them. He looks for growth opportunities. So, you look at these companies, they're amazing companies. So what do we learn about this? Well, you got to look at just a little bit more. You got to look at the fact that top income earners. And if you're here on a Saturday where there's a lot of people who are not, to me that says you're serious about earning serious income. I don't think you're playing this for a few $100s a month. And if you are, that's okay, because there's a place for everybody, right? But I think most people that come to Saturday trainings are people that are planning to create a difference in their life, to create a difference in other people's lives. With that being said, if you look historically at all the people that have made over $100,000 a year in this industry, what you'll find is that 70% got involved before the companies hit critical mass and exploded. 20% got involved during momentum, during this window right here, and only 10% got involved once their companies came out of momentum in that specific country. So when you look at that, you say, you know what, you could join Amway today and you could become a top income earner and earn a six-figure income. It's going to take a monumental effort here in the United States, but it could be done. Amway in the last 12 months grew by $800 million. Think about that. What was our revenue last year for SendOutCards? 60-something million? 60. So they grew by $800 million in 1 year. Anybody ever see the Power of Positive commercials on TV that they're running? Mm-hmm. Yeah. For the very first time in June of this year, they did $1 billion in a month. It's never happened in multi-level marketing. $1 billion in 1 month. So, but here's the thing I hope you're seeing about that. 52 years ago, somebody started Amway, right? And they said, I'm going to start an Amway business. And that person got started. And they sponsored somebody who 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 sponsored hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of level deep. And guess what? One of those people lives in Louisville, Kentucky, and they're a networking group, in the networking group with my wife. They're talking to her about Amway, and she goes, you know what? Let's use some Amway products. We try to use multi-level marketing products anyways. We'll try some. So guess what we got? We got SA8. We got LOC. And you know what we have in our house right now? SA8 and LOC. We're using Amway products. But all the way back up that line, whoever it goes through, I don't know if it's Bill Britt, Dexter Yeg, I don't know where it goes, Charlie Marsh, any of them. But there's somebody, or their kids, or maybe their grandkids from 52 years ago who's getting paid every time we do our dishes and we wash our clothes. Now here's my question. Is it feasible to conceive, just like we wash clothes and dishes today, as they did 50 years ago, is it feasible to conceive that 50 years from now, people are still going to love to get a card and a gift in the mail and be touched by somebody in their life? So do we think it's possible that we can do something today that 50 years from now, us, maybe kids or grandkids, could be paid on? Why are we any different than Amway? People are using every one of these companies' products for decades. And there's still new people joining. Somewhere in this city, there's somebody talking about Amway. There's probably somebody talking about Herbalife. You know, a friend of Christy's and mine, we met at a training seminar. He owns an Herbalife Wellness Center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's literally a center you walk into and you can get one shake at a time, or you can buy products and walk out. How did Herbalife increase by over $1.5 billion? Introduced a new concept called wellness centers, and they've exploded. They're growing. Right now, if you go to Israel or Brazil, Herbalife is exploding. People say, wow, they're like 30-something years old, almost 40 years old. Yeah, they are, but guess what? They're still growing. And when you understand a business, we in this room will be able to have people in every single country around the world on our teams. So 30 years from now, when we open a brand new country, what happens to your income? It grows. Because you have a team that has 10,000, 20,000, 3,000, 500, and 20 people, or 50 people, or 200, or 3,000 people know somebody in Argentina. And they all call them all. They don't all join, but 20 or 30% of them join. Another 20 or 30% become customers, and people are sending cards and gifts in Buenos Aires, and you're getting paid here in the United States. And guess what? You didn't know the person, but you enrolled a person who enrolled a person who enrolled a person who enrolled a person whose best friend is from Buenos Aires. That's how this business works. Now, here's an interesting thing. I hear what Jimmy Dick and these guys say, and I've got the highest highest level of regard and respect for these guys. But here's something I think. I don't think that we are right here. I personally don't. And I'm going to suggest that you hope that it's not there. Although it's still great if it is, but it's even greater if it's not. See, here's the thing is, every one of these companies, who knows the most recent number on affiliate? The affiliate number, is it 150 something?
135.
135, okay, so 135,000 people have signed up as entrepreneurs in this company since day one. Since day one. Well, we know a lot of them aren't engaged anymore, because especially in this part, this very first part, it's the hardest part. It's when you're going through changes, you're adding things. And with technology, I don't care, man, you put something new up, there's always going to be issues, even with beta test. You can beta test it, but when it goes live, it doesn't matter. It's like a different world. I'm not a technologist, but I've worked with enough of them. You can test it and over-test it and over-test it some more, but you turn it live and it's like some kind of magical thing happens and it's different. It's not unique to SendOutCards. It's with everything. So, but look at this, 135,000. In every one of these companies, 135,000 people were all trying to build a multi-level marketing business. 135,000 were all calling people. They were approaching people. They were sitting down one-on-one, two-on-one, little luncheons, in-homes, home parties, big weekly meetings. 135,000 were dedicated and focused on building their multi-level marketing business. In SendOutCards, guess what? 80% of these people are glorified customers, and you guys know it. They signed up as a business owner to do what? Get a lower price, 31 cents instead of 49 cents, and maybe just refer it to a couple people and pick up a few $100s. They've not done a single meeting. They haven't called people to come over and have a home party. They haven't done a thing. They were just thinking, I might refer it to a few people. Maybe I'll make 5% and get my costs covered, and I'll get 31 cents instead of 49. This has never happened in network marketing where you have so many people sign up to be a customer. It just doesn't happen. They either become a customer or they get in the business to build it. Shannon's got the most experience in here. Have you ever seen a company with even a fraction of a percent like this, of people signing up at the distributor level to be a customer?
Yeah, no, most companies, they count their distributors as customers. I mean,
They do.
a lot of companies don't even have customers. You know, I mean, we have customers.
Well, we have true customers.
True customers.
But at the higher level, how many people have signed up as entrepreneurs that are really just customers? That's the thing.
Something else, you know, look at our convention numbers. You know, we have what, 4,000 people there?
4,000.
4,000 active distributors.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how I look at it. You know, people
Yeah.
say, how many people you got? We got
The most
4,000.
committed, right?
I heard 100,000. No, there's 4,000 at our convention. That's who's building.
That's it. So when you look at these numbers, guys, even though the company from a stability standpoint, it's a debt-free company, own everything except for the printers, which any CPA will tell you, you want to lease your equipment that is going to become obsolete. You don't want to purchase that because that's going to be a fixed cost that's sunk. So the company, they're making all the right moves. They're smart. They're intelligent. You know what? They're introducing new products at the right time. They're not trying to do too many countries too quick. They're creating their foundation. They're getting the management team in place. Some people work, some don't, like every management team. But as you start to get a few more, then you get the parts together. Everything's coming together. So I personally think, even though the company, stability-wise, is more like a company up here somewhere, but I personally think from a marketability standpoint, I think the company is more back here. I think there's a window. That is good. I think there is a window because here's what this window is like. This is the holy grail that everybody's looking for in network marketing. You want to go through momentum. But here's an analogy a very, very big network marketer told me one time. They said, imagine that you're in the fishing industry, or you like to fish, and you're on the coast. Pick a coast, no matter East Coast, West Coast. But the biggest school of fish that has ever come up the coast is getting ready to come. They monitor it, they see it from helicopters. It's like this big, miles and miles and miles and miles. It's so big and it's so full of fish that it looks like a big black spot. You can see it from a satellite. It's so big. And it's coming right up the coast. Now, you could be a person who goes out to the beach with one fishing pole and you throw it out there. And you know what? Every time you throw it out, you're going to pull a fish in. Throw it out, pull a fish in. Or you may get intelligent and say, wow, this is the biggest one ever. I can't haul them in fast enough. I'm going to go set up like 5 or 10 poles. And I'm going to fish with all 5 or 10 poles. Or you say, you know what? I'm going out on the pier because if I'm on the pier, they'll be coming under the pier, they'll be all around. I can put up like 20 or 30 fishing poles and just start reeling them all in. But then there's somebody else that says, wow, you know what? I'm going to get a trawler. I'm going to go get a trawler. I'm going to drag some nets behind me. And you think, wow, that's those guys over there with all those poles, or that one guy or that one girl with one pole. Look at this. I got like this big net behind me. But then you may say, you know what? What if I got 10 of my friends and I let them in on this little secret And I get each one of them to get a boat, and I say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a secret, but I want 10% of everything you get. You're going to make a fortune. You're going to get more fish than you've ever got in your life, but I want 10%. Will you do it? Sure we will. Great, they're going to do that. So you get 10 people that all have trawlers, all dragging the nets. Well, what if you say, you know what? I tell you what, do you have some friends too? Why don't you each get 10 friends? And I tell you what, I'm going to give you 5%, I'm going to take 5%. Is that a deal? Great, so they get 10. So now you got 110 trawlers out there in the ocean, and they're filling up the nets as big as they can. Momentum is like that school of fish. Momentum is when everybody starts hearing about something. If you remember Arbonne, if you remember Mona V, if you remember Noni, if you remember Excel, if you remember New Skin, if you remember Herbalife, these are really the companies that have gone through major momentum swings. I'm not talking about just going to a couple $100 million. I'm talking getting right up to $1 billion or over. And that's what these companies did. And that's what you start hearing from different people. People are calling you about these opportunities. They become the hot when you see them on all the cars, the back of all the cars, Mona V, Arbonne. You see the white Mercedes, right? They become hot. That's what happens during momentum. So the suggestion is you want a longer time because you want to build bigger nets before the school of fish comes by, right? If it comes by right now, you are with the net that you currently have today. So if you have 6 months, if you have 12 months, if you have 18 months, 24 months, how much bigger can you build your net during that time? That's the key. So when people keep saying momentum, momentum, we're almost on momentum, I wouldn't want momentum. I mean, I know the team that Christy has right now, and it's awesome, but if you can have 2 or 3 or 4 times bigger, Steve and Corey, you know, you guys got an amazing team. But if it could be 2 or 3 times bigger, it'd be nicer, right? And for everybody in this room, I suggest that you would want a much bigger team than you have today when momentum comes. Now, even if you start there, when I started in Excel had just done 31 million. The year I joined, they were doing 146 million, so I joined in the middle of the year, right about there. They did 504 million the next year, and they did 1.4 billion right there. From 31 million to 1.4 billion in 3 years. That's momentum. 3 years. Went from 50 employees to 2,500 employees. 2,500 active employees. Doesn't count all the people that didn't make it or got fired. You're talking about something like unlike anything you've ever seen. Very few people have ever experienced this, but for the ones that did and the ones that were better prepared going in, guess what? These are the people that literally are living lives today, in some cases for decades, some cases children and grandchildren are living lives based on what was started decades before. But the reason is, they found one of the ones that made it. One other thing I want you to notice about this. Every one of these companies is the first to go from small to big in their product category or service segment. And here's the interesting thing. There have been a lot of companies that tried to copy Amway and Herbalife and Mary Kay and New Skin and A.L. Williams and all these companies. No one has ever gotten bigger than the first one to go from small to big. Many of their executives left to start copycat companies. Some of their top distributors have left, thinking, wow, look at everything I learned here. I go copy this, but I add another percent or another level. I'll give a little more compensation. They mistakenly thought it's all about the money. They didn't understand culture. They didn't understand their values. They didn't understand making it through this window right here that most don't. Even with good intentions, even not trying to hurt the other company, but even just saying, wow, I can have a new company and we can go do this. They forgot about what it takes to make it through that window. Here's the interesting thing. SendOutCards is the first company doing what we do. SendOutCards has everything in place. And even though I believe marketability-wise we're here, I believe stability-wise we're past where most companies go. And the reason is because we don't have 135,000 people trying to build a multi-level marketing business every single day, which is a good thing for every one of us in the room. And it's a good thing for the company that we have that many people doing revenue because it's enabled us to become stable. This has never happened in the history before, ever. Not once. So I saw a program last night, actually a catalog last night. Tim, I think you pulled it out. I saw a catalog. I haven't had a chance to talk to Christy, but my mind starts working, and I start thinking, okay, because I'm always thinking of systems. You know, systems duplicate, and what can I do to create growth? I always focus on how can I grow as fast as I can. Because fast is a lot more fun than slow, right? Slow is kind of painful. So I want to go fast. Like, what was that, Ricky Bobby? Go fast. You know? So when I saw that, my very first thought, instantly, just like that, I thought, you know what? I would get my team, and I don't want to take away from the company or any systems or whatever. I don't even know if they've done anything with that yet. But I saw that. I was so impressed by that. And I'm not normally impressed by material from multi-level marketing companies. But I saw that. I said, wow. I said, you know what I would do right now? I would get my list, and I would instantly, whatever my initial card is, my initial approach card is for opportunity, I would get X number of people per month based on what I know I can follow up with personally, and I would commit for the next 6 months, 12 months, a campaign. And I would send out a card with that catalog with it. It's a door opener. It opens the door to approach somebody. And we all talk about attraction marketing. Well, guess what? How about sending out 10 of those? How about sending out 20 of those? How about sending out 100 of those a month? You know, based on where you are and what your financial commitment is. It's $2.50 on shipping, $1 for the magazine, and the cards. So you're looking about $5 a piece. You can send out 20 for $100 a month. There's a marketing cost. But what are you doing? You're sowing the seeds, right? Jim Rohn always talks about sowing the seeds. Imagine if you're sending out 10 of those a month, 20 of those a month, 50 of those a month, and you get your team to send out. Maybe some people can only do 3 or 4 or 5, but it's activity. And what most people in network marketing are lacking is activity. Or you're the only one doing it, but your team's not doing it. So create a campaign where everybody is doing something every month, but get them to commit to 6 months minimum or 12 months. The next year will be best. Why not do this for the next year? See, most people in the room here, you're not afraid to pick up the phone and call people. And you can't tell your team to do something from a marketing aspect if you're not doing it yourself, because that's incongruent as a leader. But if you're congruent as a leader and you're doing that, your team will follow your example. Imagine having 10 people on your team that send out 10 a month. You've now got 100 people being approached in a very light, non-threatening way, and maybe 2 or 3 of those people are going to actually call the person who sent it to them back as soon as they get it. So now you've got people coming to your distributors, to your entrepreneurs, saying, hey, I got that magazine. What's going on with that SendOutCards? How much more positive does that make the new person who doesn't quite have their confidence up yet when somebody calls them? They're not making the outgoing call. They're getting the call into them. And then if you're doing proper follow-up with those people, there's going to be a percent that are either going to become customers or entrepreneurs. The key is, how do you stimulate activity, and how do you do it in a way where people feel comfortable doing it? Because one of the hardest things for people to do is pick up the phone and schedule time, approach somebody to sit down with them, right? It's the number one fear of most people getting into this business. So I'm not going to say you have to do that. It hit me last night right when I saw it. And if I were here brand new today, or if Cody said, Scott, I want to come in and hire you, that would, for me, would be my number one initiative. Why? Even with the world of the internet, which is awesome, and you've got to use the internet, and you've got to keep moving in that direction to incorporate the internet and social media and things that you're doing, but we are still touchy-feely. That's right. And I tell you what, you can have somebody go to a video and watch a video, but when I saw that catalog and I opened that up, I thought, you know what? I don't know a single person that would be anything than less impressed. And at the very lowest level, you're going to have a 980 customer. You may have a wholesale customer as a business owner, and there's going to be a percent of them, whatever that'll be, I don't know, that will want to engage in the business because they see how professional that is. They see all the categories. They see that this is an amazing business laid out. And what they're thinking is, see, here's the thing people think. They want to know, can I do it? They want to know, can I do it? And when they literally got a card and a catalog in the mail, you know what they're thinking is, I can mail these out to people. I can do this. And you want somebody to say, I can do this. So everybody can pick up the phone and call, but most people are afraid to. But how many people can send out a card in a catalog? I'm not saying you have to jump on that. I'm not trying to put a system in place that's not in place. But I had to share it because I saw that last night. And I literally, what did you see my reaction when I saw that?
I did. Your mouth like opened up.
When Scotty reacts, it's important.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So anyways, I'm not trying to put a system in place by any means, but I would just maybe, get with your leadership and consider that. But wow, I just haven't seen that kind of piece. That didn't look like normal MLM stuff. That was so nice. And we all want the same goal, right? We want to be able to reach out to more people. We want to approach more people. We hopefully want to attract people. But the key, and don't forget it, is follow-up. If you're sending out 10 a month or 5, it doesn't matter. You and your team, you've got to follow up with those people. But coming back to here, how do you build the biggest team between here and here? There's only one thing: activity, productive activity. Not sitting down making a list, not reading on the website, not watching videos about how to do a card. Productive activity means one thing: exposing people to send out cards. That is the only thing. Anybody ever hear Danny Johnson or watch any of her stuff or go to her seminars? Danny Johnson, she's a trainer. I mean, she is one of the most focused people on activity, productive activity. Exposing people to what you're doing. And you have to approach them first. With that catalog that I saw, I can't think of an easier way to approach people. At least when you call them, they're going to say, oh yeah, I got that. What is that? What are you doing? I'm glad you asked. Let's get together. I'd love to let you send a card and see how that goes. So with that being said, guys, you have this window right here, if Jimmy Dick's right, guess what? You still have all the momentum, and just to get a chance to participate in momentum, very few people ever get a chance to do that. We all have that opportunity, but I really do believe, because only 20% of these 135,000 are people that actually signed up to do the business, and Shannon, you're right. 80% of those are not doing it anymore because they've dropped off like any company. No matter how good the company is, some people drop off. So when you see 4,000 people at a conference, out of that 20%, 4,000 truly are the most active and engaged. And here we are in a city that has, what, almost 1 million people? I mean, there's going to be 110,000 people in the football stadium tonight. 4,000? I mean, the band, I think, has 4,000 people. I don't know. So bottom line is, guys, you know, this is where we're positioned. This is how I see it on the business side. So, I mean, why do I get juiced when I see that catalog? Because my first thought is 99.9% of the population has never sent a card. They don't know about SendOutCards. You may run into somebody, oh, I've heard of it. Have you sent a card? No, I haven't. You don't know SendOutCards. So you're in the catbird seat. You've got an anomaly. It's never happened before. Now there's only one decision. What are you going to do? That's your decision. So thanks for having me here, guys. Appreciate it.